stream, in a stream. Which one of these screens is the right one? Is it this one? It is! It's me! My camera's all fucked up. Good morning. It's me. I'm doing yet another terrible, I'm bad at everything kind of stream. That's not it. That's a bit better. It's super orange. What's that about? Whatever. My face is it is the least important thing on the screen. I'm very tired. That's actually not true. I'm just in the habit of saying it. So, what even am I doing? This is the very first stream where I am talking about this drama game that I want to write called Second Lead Syndrome. Hitherto, there has been many hours of me sitting in this very chair, staring at this very screen, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm even doing. And I think I've got enough of a framework to, have something streamable and public that even makes sense. That's a hypothesis. We will see if that's actually true. So what is this game? Second Lead Syndrome is a game that is, I want to say loosely based, but it's actually very strongly based on K-drama, because I watch a lot of K-drama, and I really like how predictable yet entertaining K-drama is. You always know how it's going to end because it's genre romance, and that always, like, it's kind of the point. It's comfort genre, but there's crazy twists and turns and conflict, and you hate characters and you love other characters. I have to credit Britt Wiseman for telling me that this is very much like wrestling, and that you've got your heels and you've got your baby faces, and you like who you're supposed to like and you hate who you're supposed to hate. They're very good at making you do that. Even if you know you're supposed to root for somebody, even if they tell you they beat you over the head with it, you still find yourself doing it. So yeah, I wanna make a game about that kind of stuff, that kind of narrative rather. What else needs to be said on the outset? What even? Second Lead Syndrome. That's a phrase that does not mean things to all people. Second Lead Syndrome is a phenomenon. There's motorcycles. People really like motorcycles out here. Hey, it's Drummer Boy. Hi. Second Lead Syndrome is a phrase that is very familiar to anybody in the K-drama community. In your typical romantic comedy K-drama, there are three people. There's the protagonist, who's usually the woman, and she's trying to live her life, but there's all these fucking dudes fucking up her shit, and she ends up with one of them, and they live happily ever after. The dude she ends up with is the first lead. He's the man on the poster, typically, with her. The first lead starts out being really dislikable for some reason, but there's usually some pretext that means he and the protagonist have to spend a lot of time together, and then they fall in love. The other dude that's all in her shit is the second lead. The second lead is the guy who starts out being really affable at the beginning and really amiable table, and you're always like, why doesn't she just hook up with that guy? That guy's great. Why does she keep talking to this asshole first lead? The second lead is amazing. That, my friends, is second lead syndrome. When you're like, I know she's not gonna end up with this guy, but he's so much better than the other guy. And this game is about the process of of getting the protagonist and the audience to root for the first lead over the second lead, and thereby cure their second lead syndrome. This game takes a lot from Downfall, which is a diceless game about the downfall of society. The things I liked from Downfall were the fact that the ending is inevitable. Society always falls, because that's how the game is written. But mechanically, it leads you there. Like, if you follow the rules, your society is going to fall, as it should. And I want to create a game that reliably has the protagonist end up with the first lead. So it borrows from Downfall. I also liked that the roles in Downfall, which I believe are Hero, the Fallen, and the Pillar, something like that, they rotate between the players at the table. So you don't have your own character. There's a set of there's two major characters, and then like this kind of flexible third character that rotate around the table, and you're all playing them in turn. So I borrowed that idea. It borrows from Fall of Magic a bit. There's some ideas there about setting scenes and gesturing towards things that necessarily you don't have to play. I haven't fully articulated that. I have to watch and read more read Fall of Magic and watch more games of it. But there's something there I like about how characters are made-ish? I don't know. That one's still kind of floating out there. What else? I'm borrowing a clock idea from Headspace, which we'll get into later, maybe. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm borrowing and using. Cool. So I guess I should talk about basically what the game looks like. So you sit down, you have it's a 4-person game, no more, no less, 4 people, and you sit down, you're like, I'm gonna play Second Lead Syndrome with you guys, here's how we're gonna do it. So there's 4 roles. There's the protagonist, who is the hero of our story. Hi, Lindy Bombette. There's the first lead, who is the romantic interest that the protagonist is going to end up with. There's the second lead, who is the romantic protagonist, or the romantic, the romantic interest that the protagonist is not going to end up with. And then there's the audience, which is its own role, because you can't, like, K-drama is very much about making the audience do things. So the audience, we'll get into that later. Sorry, I'm being all out of order. Hi, Yakov. I can turn down the music. Thank you for letting me know. Let's see. Is that better? So, protagonist, first lead, second lead, audience. So you sit down at the table, you've got your 4 roles. There are 3 character sheets, because the audience does not have a character sheet. It's a role, but not a character. I don't know. But the protagonist, the first lead and the second lead all have character sheets. And then what you do is you assign traits. Well, no. First, you figure out the premise. You talk about your setting. You talk about the pretext under which the first lead and the protagonist have to spend time together. And you kind of hash that out. That process isn't really fully fleshed out in my brain yet, and I need to figure out what that looks like. After you do your setting and your premise, then you do your characters. What does it mean to make a character? You assign them traits. That's the other game I'm borrowing from, is Fate. I think rather, instead of just traits, I want to assign them Fate-like aspects. So instead of saying like the trait rich, which is like, okay, you have a lot of money, you instead say third generation heir, which is a very common figure in K-drama. Apparently companies are passed down in a hereditary fashion. Also, like, getting married, like, companies are very, I don't know, weirdly primogeniture focused in K-drama. But anyway, so you assign them aspects that can be maybe compelled later. They have some sort of mechanical impact, but the point of being a third generation heir over just being rich per se is that third generation heir doesn't just mean you're rich. It means it like embodies a whole host of characteristics that can be leveraged in play. So you assign them aspects. There's a chart in my mind for how aspects are shared, because the protagonist and the second lead typically share some traits. And the first lead is usually the odd one out. So to use an example, there's a show I like that is doesn't mess with this formula at all. It's a really good example of this formula, and it's called Fated to Love You. And it's about Kim Mi-young, who is a nice, kind woman. Her family's from the country. She has a really hard time saying no, so people always ask her to do favors all the time. And she's like, oh, okay, I guess I can do it. And then the first lead is Lee Gun, who is the heir to a very big company. He's very loud, bombastic, and has like a really weirdly short. He doesn't have a short temper, but I don't know. He has like little tantrums all the time. He's kind of immature. The second lead is Daniel Pitt, who was adopted to America, came back to find his family, his sister in Korea. He is not loud like Lee Gun, more quiet like Kim Mi-young, but not passive in the way she is. He's maybe gentle. So Kim Mi-young and Daniel share some sort of like way of approaching things, and I haven't fully articulated it myself, but they're both like very quiet, gentle people. They're nice. They're both artistic, turns out. Daniel Pitt and Lee Gun are both rich, and operate in high society in that way. Lee Gun and Kim Mi-young have very little in common, except for the fact that they accidentally sleep together in the first episode and she gets pregnant. So that's the premise under which they have to spend time together, is this baby. So there's a pattern there of like which characters share traits and what kind of traits they share that needs to be replicated for each game, but I'm not there yet. That's just out there. So you go through this process of assigning traits, and you create your characters. once you have your characters, your three main characters, you sit down, and the person who it is the audience first, plays the audience first, sets up the first story arc. What is a story arc? A story arc is a clock, more or less. The story arc is it the audience that does the story arc? I don't remember. No. I forgot what I wrote before. Sorry. I don't know how to design games. So back up. You sit down to make the story arc. The person who's playing the protagonist first says what the theme of the arc is. The central theme of an arc always pertains to the protagonist, something about their life. So say the theme of this arc is of this first arc, like, okay, hypothetical. Sorry, backing up. Thinking in straight lines is hard. So backing up, let's say we have our three characters. Our protagonist is poor, hardworking girl, kind of like what's her face from Heirs. But she's poor. She works like 3 part-time jobs or something, whatever. Or no, she works one really shitty job, and she's scrabbling to make ends meet. The second lead is a good friend of hers who is secretly rich. He pretends to be poor so that he can hang out with her without it being awkward. The first lead is just like stupidly rich, but is like ends up needing, he's got some problem in his company, because there's always a problem in the company. That's our three characters. So the protagonist says the first story arc is about this character finding a job. Okay. The audience then, and the audience and protagonists always sit across from each other if you're playing this in person, and the first and second lead sit across from each other. So the audience says, okay, the central conflict of this arc is, because the audience pretty much focuses on setting out conflicts. The protagonist and the audience are kind of like a split GM. It's weird. The audience sets up a central conflict. So if the theme is finding a job, the conflict is, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about this backwards. Or no, the theme is her poverty, and the conflict is her looking for a job, like trying to find a job. Duh. So the protagonist and the audience set that out, and then the roles rotate. So now, the person that was the protagonist is the first lead. The person, it's hard to explain. Maybe I should draw like a chart, but the roles rotate around the table. The new protagonist and the new audience now set up the first scene in that story arc. The person that is playing the audience, they declare what this scene is about. Hey, Gwen. And how it ties to the central conflict. So the new audience player says something like, this scene is of the protagonist getting fired from her shitty job. It ties to the conflict because, or it shouldn't tie to the conflict of an arc, tie to the theme, not the conflict. It ties to the theme because getting fired from your job is more likely to make you poor. It's a problem of poverty. There we go. And then the protagonist, the person who's playing the protagonist, sets out where the scene is, who's there, and which of the players is playing what role. So the protagonist always plays, the person who has a protagonist role always plays a protagonist. If the first or second lead is in the scene, those players who have those roles at the time play that character. And then the audience and whoever's not being used can fill out any NPCs. So the location and the people are all assigned by the protagonist. You play out the scene. And you do that until the story, the clock of the story arc is filled. How do you fill the story arc clock? This is the part I'm stuck on. I'm just doing a lot of talking. This is the part I'm stuck on. So the first and second lead have what I am calling TRMs right now. What is a TRM? A TRM is a triple replay moment. This, in a K-drama, are those moments that are played in slow-mo, filmed from 3 different angles, and like played 3 times. So like the first time they kiss typically is a triple replay moment where the camera slows down and the music swells and you can see like the same motion from 3 different angles back to back. Like those are moments where like control of a scene changes. Like the person who uses this triple replay moment takes control of the scene. So that's what I'm calling it now, TRM. The second lead starts the game with a set of TRMs already, because they are meant to be like, they have more control at the beginning of a show. They're meant to be liked more at the beginning of a show. The first lead might start with none or start with very little. I'm not sure yet. So at some point in this scene of the protagonist getting fired from her job, the player who is playing the second lead could use a triple replay moment to like swoop in and do something nice. I'm so sorry you got fired from your job. Let's go. Let me take you out to eat. Or something like that. Using a TRM fills a segment of the story clock. So, I don't know if I like that. But that's what it is right now. Using a TRM fills a segment of the story clock, and it fills it in favor of the character that used it. So in this case, the second lead. Right? And then once the clock is filled, typically the first story arc will be filled mostly by the second lead's TRMs, because they start with more. Once the clock is filled, the person who is playing the audience at that moment triggers a crisis in the narrative, because that's how it works in the shows. There's like some big some big shit happens in the setting, and it involves definitely the protagonist, probably one of the leads. So like, I don't know. So she gets fired. As the story arc progresses, there's like some bizarre reason that she has to go work for the first lead. And at the end of the story arc, there's a crisis where the secret love child of the first lead's father swoops in and tries to take control of the company. Which imperils the protagonist's job, but also the first lead. The second lead isn't as important, but the second lead like wants to support the protagonist because they're always like on the side trying to be a romantic interest, even though they never win. And then the crisis is resolved some kind of way, don't know yet. And then, hey Cypher. And then the next story arc is set up by the protagonist and audience who cannot be the same players who were the protagonist and audience for the first story arc. So that's kind of how it works. Did that make any sense? I don't know. But yeah, broad overview. Right now there's a lot. So what am I missing? I need a better name for triple replay moments as a currency. I need to know how traits or aspects are assigned. I need to know what triple replay moments actually do mechanically. I feel like that's what you use to compel an aspect of another character, right? Like it's like a fate point, and they're like, hey, I will spend this and you do the thing that I think you should do based on this aspect that your character has. I'm wondering if the protagonist audience roles have a currency of their own. Yeah, if you think, sorry, it would make more sense, but maybe not that much more sense if you watch a lot of K-drama. And it's really hard to explain how the game works with all of the role swapping with like no names or anything like that, or like I need like a diagram or some shit, but whatever. But yeah, so I need a new name for triple replay moments. And it's, yeah, so you spend a triple replay moment point, you're able to compel another character's aspect and thereby take narrative control of a scene, right? Or maybe you leverage your own aspects. I don't know, but it's about taking narrative control of a scene. So what is a good name for that? In my mind, because when I see a story arc, I see a literal parabola, like a negative x squared upside down parabola shape. And a triple replay moment is like a point of inflection that causes it to like do little calculus. None of this makes sense. Ooh, spotlighting. Thank you, motorcycle. This is the part of the stream where I stare off into the distance and try to think of words. What is something that takes control of a scene? Like some shit's going down and you swoop in and you're like, no, let's redirect this shit. I could say drama points. If it's the only currency in the game, I could even just call them points. So yeah, I'm stuck on that. Hey, Sith Master. Yeah, this is a tabletop game that intends to recreate K-drama narrative. That's the short answer. But yeah. Also, I forgot to point out that this game is currently diceless. because there's no conflict between players that needs to be resolved with random chance. All the players are trying to do the same thing, which is get the protagonists and the first lead together. Also, I should note that while I've been using him and her for the roles, as they are traditionally assigned in K-dramas, the roles could be whatever gender. It doesn't actually matter for the purposes of this game. Triple replay moment. I mean, I could... Nah, I can't keep that. I can't keep that. I could call them songs, because that's another thing that happens. Typically, like I have not seen Firebrands, but I could take a look at it. I know I need to read Worldwide Wrestling, and I should read Firebrands. I've also been told Fiasco could be a good resource. Seize control of a scene using blank points. Oh, right. I was talking about songs because songs are super important. Like, typically what'll happen is, like, characters will be arguing and then the protagonist will be like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and she'll turn around and walk away, and then the dude that was arguing with her will grab her arm and yank her back, and then that's a triple replay moment, and she'll like bump into his chest, and then they'll stare into each other's eyes, and then a song will start playing. So I could also call it a song. Trigger a song to take control of a scene. That could also work. Talking about K-drama out loud makes me realize how fucking ridiculous it is. Not that you could miss how ridiculous they are, but it's really, like, it sounds so dumb. Yeah, I'll have to give Firebrands a look-see. I wish I could, like, make my chat box bigger. Oh, duh, I could pop out chat. Ooh. Can I pop out chat? Oh. I see what's going on. My BTTV is, like, fucking up my chat box on my dashboard. There we go. I fixed it. It's almost like I work for the company. What do you mean when you say it depends on how scene dependent this should be? Only ask because I've not read or seen a game of Firebrands, so I have no context on that. This whole game is scenes. Well, yeah, that's basically this game. It's just scene after scene until the story arc is completed, and then you start the next story arc. Yeah, it is very similar to that Sith Master, who says Firebrands and Fiasco work by going around in turns with each player picking a scene to do. Yes. I don't know if I mentioned, but between each scene, the roles rotate around the table, and whoever is playing protagonist and audience for that scene set it up, and then it's played out, and then the roles rotate, and the next protagonist and audience set up the next scene. Yeah. Yeah, it's very much like that. Awesome. I will check out Firebrands and Fiasco at some point because work is starting back up, and oh boy, I'm gonna be busy. But yeah, I will check those out. But yeah, I definitely want like a very like turn-based scene making style game. Downfall is really like that too. Downfall, which is where this game started, does a rotating scene thing with rotating character roles as well. So yeah, I will look at those resources to see how they set scenes up and see what I can pull from that. So I have not yet talked about this document. This document eventually will be the rules of the game. This stuff in mauve right here is what needs to be done. Maybe, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure what to do. I know I do need character sheets for protagonist, first and second lead. And bleh. How to make a character sheet, I don't know. I think I have access to Photoshop and Illustrator on my work laptop. Huh? I don't think I have InDesign or anything like that, so I have to look into that. Yeah, I think song makes more sense to more people. I think that might be a better, or at least a better working term. Songs and how to trigger them. Yeah. Scribus. It's on my list of things to do for 2018 to learn how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and some other things for work. And I'm like, bleh, learning another one, bleh. That's kind of how I feel about it right now, but I need a broader range of tools. But also, like, what needs to go on my character sheets, right? I need name, I need space for aspects. First and second lead need to be able to track the number of songs they have available. The protagonist has the story arc clock on their sheet, and then like space for notes. Like, it's not actually, there's not a lot going on. There's just a couple of things that need to be tracked. Yeah, I've got like the Adobe Creative Suite on my work laptop. And I just have to sit down and learn all of it. Professional development for the fucking loss. Just kidding. So yeah, I think like it's a goal of mine in 2018 to get this into a good enough shape to play test. And so for that, video editing is hard. It's so hard. Sorry, I got distracted by comment in chat. But yeah, so for that, if I focus on getting it ready to play test, for that I need a clear step-by-step procedure for generating characters. I need procedure for creating a story arc and the scenes within it. And I need character sheets. Those are the 3 things I need. I need procedure for making characters. I need procedure for creating story arcs and scenes. I need character sheets. Yeah, I would just like make a form fillable PDF, which I can do, and just call it a day, except that I need to learn these programs anyway. So it's as good a reason as any. Okay, so I do this thing you should see. Actually, you could see if you wanted. I do this thing where I like write out ideas in like a really messy way and then condense it into things that actually make sense. This here is what actually makes sense for the game. My initial brainstorming looks like this. Just like garbage and random colors and bad bullet lists and random bolding. And so that's a mess. That's a mess. Okay. So, making characters, creating story arcs and scenes, character sheets. Blech. Blech. So, process order of assigning. Under here, let's start with, let's make a table. It should be 4 by, I don't know, 5. Well, whatever. First lead. Protagonist. Nope. Second lead. So, I was talking earlier. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Character sheets. What do they need? Name. Aspects. Songs. Song tracking for leads, story arc, clock for protagonists, notes, actions they can take. Thank you. So, assigning aspects. First and second lead typically share place in life. How do I notate this? So you're like A. This is B. Maybe like personality, demeanor. Seriously? I hate that. This is definitely B. Where do you, oh, control B. B, the protagonist is always A. Yeah, the protagonist is what like creating your protagonist. Ah, I will answer that question in a second, Sith Master. So the protagonist is always, you set protagonist traits, and that determines the traits of the leads. So Sith Master asks, confused by first lead versus protagonist. Is the hero not the main character of a K-drama? The hero of a K-drama, and again, we're going to get into like genders here, but for this game, the protagonist does not have to be female and the leads do not have to be male. But the protagonist is usually the hero. It's usually a woman. She's usually likable, relatable, and the show is about her life and like some drastic changes that happen in her life due to her association with the first and second lead. The first and second lead are dudes. They're potential romantic interests for the protagonist. And the second lead is typically nicer at the beginning of the show and seems like she should just go be with him, because the first lead is usually an asshole at the beginning of the show. And the arc of the show is the protagonist and the first lead ending up together anyway. And sometimes the second lead turns out to be like really overbearing and paternalistic. Sometimes the second lead is just like, she's just not that into him. Sometimes the second lead turns out to be have been a huge fucking liar the entire time. But there's like, she never ends up with the second lead. She always ends up with the first lead. So yeah, romantic interest. So when I say first lead, I mean like first romantic lead, second romantic lead, and then the protagonist, who is typically the woman. Sometimes there's a second female lead who is usually like really fucking trite. Like she's usually an asshole. And is always trying to ruin the protagonist's life. But for the purposes of this game, she's not necessary. She could just be an NPC in this game. Like the first lead's ex-girlfriend who really wants to get back together with him, but the protagonist keeps like showing up, and the first lead is like, so she like tries to have the protagonist kidnapped or some like crazy shit. But that's like advanced K-drama. So, place in life, by which I mean like socioeconomic. Protagonist is usually poor. That means the first and second lead are rich. Loosely putting that out there. The personality, demeanor. The protagonist is usually hardworking and mature. Second lead is same. First lead is usually like really immature. Maybe hardworking. Maybe they're just like some fuckboy that lives off their parents' money. But they're usually like, they usually throw a lot of temper tantrums. They're not very patient. They're not patient. Whereas the protagonist and second lead are long suffering. What are some other traits? There's something about being caught up in the central conflict of the show. First lead and the protagonist are always like, they have to spend time together because of like some ridiculous bullshit. Second lead is not necessarily there. Yes, the first lead is a shonen character, and it takes like until halfway through the show until they realize they're actually in a K-drama and need to fix their shit. Stop being an asshole. What else? I don't know if there's anything else right now. But so if our protagonist is poor, the first and second lead are both rich. If our protagonist is patient and tolerant, the second lead is as well, but the first lead is very impatient and throws temper tantrums. If the protagonist is caught up in the central conflict of the show, which is like some stupid reality, like you have to compete in this reality show or else, or like some bullshit. There's usually some like really dumb reason. What was it in the last one I watched? The first lead's grandfather put in his will that he could only inherit the company if he married the protagonist. That was the stupid central conflict of the show. The first lead, the protagonists were all caught up in that shit. The second lead was kind of involved, but not in the way that the first and protagonists were in that show. But there's always like some stupid ass shit that the first lead and the protagonist like can't escape. It was a good show. It was called 1% of something, and the grandfather was like, you must marry this random elementary school teacher if you want to inherit the company, and the first lead is like, I'm sorry, what the fuck? But so it was. And then he rolls up and is like, hey, I need to marry you to get my money. And she's like, I don't care if you get your money. Get the fuck out of my elementary school. But yeah, anyway, so deciding a characteristic so assigning an aspect always starts with the protagonist. You assign a characteristic to the protagonist and it determines characteristics for the first and second lead. Because everything revolves around the protagonist. But something like that. There's some process like this for assigning aspects to characters. Yeah, I should go reread that Sith Master. I have Downfall like right over there on my bookshelf, and I just need to take some time and reread it. I have to read many things. So yeah, and I think this process of assigning aspects goes around the table. So whoever decides like the socioeconomics of the protagonist is not the next person seated to like their right or left or whatever is the person that decides the next trait. So it goes around in order with each player picking a trait for the protagonist, which then determines traits for the first and second lead. I think the central conflict of the show is determined in the setting and premise. Whoever gets to pick that trait determines how they're caught up in that bullshit, maybe? I'm not sure. But there's like that trait itself can't be, it's more important than the other ones. Like that's more of a setting thing than a character aspect thing. But more things to think about. So, because actually, while that makes sense now, when I come back, I won't remember that. This should, oh my god, go in setting premise instead. I have not yet seen Fiasco playsets. Fiasco is on my list to read. Firebrands is on my list now. I want to reread Downfall. And yeah, I think this could be a game that takes playsets. Like you could have a historical K-drama that's different. You could have, because like right now, this is like very, or at least my idea of it is very like contemporary, Chaebol Air and Poor Girl marry each other K-drama, which is a subgenre that I really like. But there's also like the high school K-dramas, there's the historical ones, there's the weird time travel ones, which are kind of historical, but also sometimes, I don't know, I've seen a K-drama where like an alien comes down. There's a lot of shit out there. But yeah. I think eventually this will end up having play sets and like settings and things like that. If I ever get there. Okay, so this lonely girl bought or got sent a Perfect Man robot. I have not seen that one. I started to watch one where the first lead is allergic to human contact. It makes him break out in hives. So he's rich, of course. So he's gonna buy this android, this like female android, to be like his life companion. But right before he gets due to get shipped to his mansion, they break it. The scientists break it on accident and find a girl that conveniently looks just like the android and send her in the android's place. And so there's this whole like, it sets up this whole like slapsticky kind of series of events where she's trying not to touch him and reveal that she's human / kill him with anaphylactic shock. I haven't finished that one yet. Yeah. K-drama is weird. Oh, ethical boundaries? There's some K-drama's fucked up, y'all. Like typically the first lead wields some sort of like economic power over the protagonist and is all like, go on dates with me or you'll get evicted from your house or some fucked up shit like that. And as an audience, you're supposed to be like, oh, look how romantic. But I'm like, that's right, but what the fuck? What? But suspension of disbelief. I don't know. It's trash fiction. It's problematic. Yeah. I just realized my music died and I just haven't noticed. Bad streamer. The West streamer. Bruh. Yeah. I don't know. I could spend an entire stream talking about ridiculous fucking shows. Like stupidly ridiculous shows, but that is not the purpose of this stream. I should start a K-drama podcast wherein I talk about bizarre shit that goes on in shows. If I really want that. But something like this chart. Maybe not the chart itself ends up in the final game, but rules. Like if-then statements. So decide what the socioeconomic place of the protagonist is. If they are this, then the first and second lead are that. Something like that. So that I need to first work it out. Introduce a non-K-drama watcher to a show and then talk about it for an hour. Yeah, one of these days, I want to do like a K-drama club on the Mask Squad Discord, kind of like anime club and book club. But that, I have to figure out like what the time commitment is for that, like what I can dedicate to that. I also really like watching things alone at my own pace. So, I don't know. But yeah. I've seen some really weird shit, y'all. I've seen some shit. But back to the game. Figure out what this chart looks like, and then convert that into a series of steps for creating characters. That is going to be my next big task for this game. But I committed to streaming for an hour, because that's, if I work for longer than an hour, then I get all unfocused, as you've probably noticed, and unable to get things done. So I am going to put a pin on it next time I do this, which will be God knows when. I will start with this chart, and hopefully we'll have read some of the material that has been suggested to me by then, and figure out how exactly to make characters. And then from that, probably try to get into designing some sort of character sheets. Oh, actually, I need to go watch hours of audition video right now. I'm still working. So that's my afternoon, is watching audition videos all day. But thank you guys so much for swinging by and watching me babble on about the nonsense that is this game. I will be uploading this to YouTube so that I can remember what the fuck I said, but also so that other people can see this nonsense. But yeah, thank you. This is productive. I especially appreciate people asking questions, because to me, like, I watch so much K-drama that I gloss over things that don't make sense necessarily to other people. And I renamed Triple Replay moments to songs. God bless. Nobody wants to say TRMs. Sounds like tax reports or something. So thank you guys so much. Have a happy new year. And I will see you in 2018. Bye.